Evening, depending upon
wherever you are.
where in the world you're watching from. Today we're going to be doing a live Q&A answering your questions about Japan travel. We've traveled to Japan many times over the past 20 years. Recently, we take our family of 5 at least once per year so we can keep up to date with things happening in Japan. So today we're going to start it off a little bit different. Before we start answering your questions, we'd like to ask you guys a few questions. So the first question I have for you is, which season will you visit Japan? So please go ahead and drop into the chat box whether you're planning to visit Japan in fall, winter, spring, or summer. So we'll be looking for those responses. Which season are you going to visit Japan? Let me see over here. There's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, and also let us know if there's any audio issues.
Can you hear us?
I'm gonna fix something real quick. Actually, got a little snafu here.
We are currently live, but this will be recorded and available to watch on our channel afterwards, as are all of our past live videos as well. We like to keep our lives to about 1 hour, so when we get to that cutoff point, if we have not yet answered your question, you can always leave your question on any of our videos on our channel, and we'll try to reply to you there instead. Okay, I see some coming in saying autumn, November, December, autumn in 2 weeks, woo, fall, end of September, end of October. Thank you for letting us know the audio is working. We've got fall, maybe winter. Okay, that's great. Being that we're right at the end of summer here, fall's coming up, it makes sense that a lot of you will be visiting in fall. And then winter is kind of a lower season for international tourists to Japan, but we do have plenty of information on our channel if you do want to visit in winter. It's one of our favorite times to visit the northern island of Hokkaido for the powdery snow in the winter.
Yeah, the key for wintertime is go to the snow, because if you're just in Tokyo, it can be miserably cold. But if you are in places like Hokkaido or in Nagano or somewhere where they have just beautiful powdery snow, it could just be heaven.
It makes the cold worth it.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing which season. Next up, I'd like to know, who are you traveling to Japan with? So you can put something like solo if you're going as a solo traveler, couple, or are you going with a friend or friends, or are you traveling as a family? For instance, we recently released a video on traveling to Japan as a family with kids. So anybody who has young kids like we do, you can find a lot of information in that about finding accommodations for families. But we'd like to know who is our audience right now? Who are you guys? So are you solo travelers, traveling as a couple, going with friends, or are you going with family? Let's see. Okay, I have some spouse, friends, solo female, wife and high school kids. Yeah, we'll have one kid that'll be a teenager pretty soon, so we'll be able to start venturing into the traveling with teenagers realm before long. Spouse, couple plus a best friend, sister, yay, family, solo, family, 2 kids. Okay, it's quite a range there. I'm actually surprised there's more solo travelers than I realized. We do try to make general how to travel to Japan videos that can apply to pretty much anyone, but some of our videos zero in on, for instance, family travel. First time with girlfriend, family of 3, cruising with friends. Okay, so it runs the whole. We've got solo travelers, we've got couples, we've got people going with friends, and people with family. Hopefully you can all find something of help on our channel. And then one last question for you guys before we turn to your questions is, what has been the most difficult thing for you in planning your Japan trip? So you can put something like transportation, itinerary, time of year. What has been your biggest struggle for your Japan trip? Because that's where we can really come in to help you guys. If we know what's difficult for you, we can hopefully make videos that will help you out in those areas. Okay, we still have some people saying who they're going with. Spouse, solo. We've noticed a lot more people doing cruises to Japan recently too. In the past it was mostly flying, but there's an uptick in people cruising.
And regarding solo travelers, we've been getting a lot of questions lately from women solo travelers about the safety level and stuff. And I don't think there's anywhere safer than Japan. I'm a little biased, but I truly believe that. I think Thailand might be second, but Japan is just crazy safe. And in general, Southeast Asia is safe, but Japan takes it to another level. You'll see little kids walking around by themselves at night and stuff. And I think the most important thing, and we had some questions regarding this, is to make sure you have health insurance. Because if you're traveling solo and something happens to you, if you're out on a trek or something like that, you want to have health insurance. So just make sure you have that before you leave.
And I would definitely feel fine traveling by myself in Japan. There's just certain places I wouldn't go at night, like Kabukicho and Shinjuku, but I don't go out at night anyways. So we have some answers coming in here. Some people say narrowing down the things I want to do. Yes. Finances and budgeting. Itinerary. Picking the right hotels. George has a lot of good tips on choosing hotels for Japan. Itinerary and lodging. Transportation and attraction pass, getting concert tickets. Sorry, we don't have much personal experience in that realm.
But I know that can be a hard one, especially a lot of those require telephone numbers.
Making our mind if going or not with a small baby, I say yes. We took each of our kids when they were about a year old. That's just how the timing worked out, but I would definitely travel there with a baby. Specific foods, okay. Trying to fit things into a day. Medications, navigating train stations. We do share a lot on our channel about how to buy train tickets and take the trains, but we haven't shown as much in the actual train stations. Selecting which area in Kyoto to stay in, halal food and restaurants, okay. Organize most efficiently in the places to visit and when to implement breaks, specifically with bookings. Scared of overscheduling, itinerary, gluten-free dining. Okay, this is great. After this video, we'll go through this more thoroughly, and that can give us some ideas for some future videos that we can work on.
But definitely all of these concerns, we can answer all of these in future videos. We might even answer some of these on the live today as well.
Okay, can you go ahead and start?
Okay, so we'll just start from the top. We'll start from the very top question that we got here. And this is from Matt321. Good morning or good evening, wherever you are. Thoughts on Kamakura and top options for a day trip will be coming from Yokohama area.
Yes, most definitely, especially from Yokohama. You're close to both Kamakura and Enoshima, and we highly recommend Kamakura. We personally just haven't explored Enoshima yet, but we'll be going there as well. Those could be done either together as one day trip, or you could break them into 2 separate day trips. But all 3 of those places we highly recommend for day trips, even if you're staying in the Tokyo area. Yokohama is one of my favorites, and I will be making some content on that our next trip.
Yeah. And Kamakura is, to me, that's been one of my favorite places for the last 30 years. Since I was a kid, I've been going there with my family. And the key is, though, for Kamakura is just recently with the mass amount of tourists coming, try to avoid weekends, because we were there recently and we couldn't believe how crowded it was compared to going on a weekday. So it's a huge difference if you can go on a weekday versus a weekend.
We do have one video on the best day trips from Tokyo where you can find out more information. We did kind of like what you can do in a day in Kamakura in that video.
Okay, also from Matt321, any tips for dining in traditional restaurants with toddlers? I've read about some challenges, lack of space, high chairs, food options for kids. Yes, this can certainly be the case. And the chances are they're not going to cater towards you at all because they already have a set menu. And this is in the tradition of motenashi, where they believe that, they're presenting that the best they can and in the way they can. So your best bet is, if you plan to eat at any of these places, is to do your research ahead of time and check what they have available. If they have high chairs and stuff, email them if they have if they have that available, or contact them somehow, because that is going to be your best bet. Many of them do.
And some restaurants in Japan just do not allow children under a certain age.
That's true as well. So you'll want to check that too.
Our kids are pretty well behaved, but we tend to stick to more family-friendly diners. We did go over some of our kids' favorite restaurants in our video about traveling with kids, but we don't tend to take them to the super fancy, more traditional places too often. They have eaten at a ryokan, though. That's one setting where it might be, expected that the kids join in the meal.
Yeah. Okay, hi Navinda. Navinda, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. To get a stamp in order to obtain the pass, or can we use one of the faster check-in methods? I will be purchasing the pass on the JR West website.
Okay, so for getting one of the tourist-only transportation passes, one of the requirements is that you are there just as a temporary visitor, which means that when you come through immigration, you must get a stamp in your passport showing that you are just a temporary visitor, a tourist pretty much. So be sure your passport gets stamped when you go through immigration, because later when you go to pick up either a JR pass or a regional pass, they will check your passport. That needs to be in there for you to get issued your pass, because a lot of these passes can only be used by foreign tourists.
And another question from me, which is a really good question as well, is we have a 20-month-old who will be accompanying with us to Japan? Are child seats in taxis, private transit, express buses, are they required? Can we request them?
Okay, so normally if it's public transportation like a taxi, it's not required in Japan, and I've noticed it's a lot less strict there than it is in the United States. Also, buses, I don't think it'd be required either. It's mostly if you're in a private vehicle, so if you rent a car or if we've ever ridden with our friends, that's when a car seat would be required. And there often is an option to select that you want a car seat, like if you're renting a car. However, I don't usually see them in taxis. For private transfer, you can request.
You can request a booster seat. They usually don't have the smaller ones. That's usually the case. So again, I would contact the companies themselves because they are individually owned companies and they can have their own thing. But in general, they will carry a booster seat, but not a smaller one.
And if you really are concerned that you want your child in one, then it might be better to just bring something really compact and lightweight for your trip that you can take around with you. Like we now have one of those Pico Wavy. It's more for older by 20 months old. I'm not sure if
Maybe,
that would
I'm
fit
not
for
sure.
20 months old,
Yeah.
but we just try to have a really compact foldable one. And then when our kids get older, like 3 years old, we use a Ride Safe for a travel vest in lieu of a car seat.
All right, from
Yeah.
Arias, I'm going to say, again, I apologize for butchering your name. Sapporo in December, can you survive in tennis shoes?
I wouldn't torture myself. So we've got some questions about when the snow starts, and generally first snowfall is around November in Hokkaido. Early December, I don't know exactly how much snow there will be, but by late December, there's been a lot of snow, and it is not comfortable being out in those conditions underdressed. Like we went out to the night illuminations one night, and I just didn't even have on proper like gloves. My fingers felt like they're about to get frostbite. I needed to get inside somewhere to warm up. So I do have packing lists for winter travel to Japan that goes over like what kind of things to have if you're going somewhere like Sapporo that snows. I say be prepared. Even if you just need to go and buy a pair of winter boots in Sapporo, that packing list video also
Yes.
includes where to buy stuff like that.
ABC Mart, they're everywhere. They sell cheap winter boots, and also there's another one called Workman, also very economical all over Japan, especially in places like Sapporo. And another thing you might want to get is they have these, what do you call those spikes that you can buy? You can buy spikes that you can connect, ice spikes that you can connect to your shoes. They sell those everywhere as well in Sapporo. And the main reason is, there's going to be snow everywhere. So your feet are going to be constantly wet if you're just wearing tennis shoes. That's to me going to be the biggest issue. And your feet are going to be freezing.
Your toes are going to freeze.
Yeah, they're going to freeze.
Okay, I just dropped a link in the chat box for our winter packing list.
Hi, Snafu. Are there any activities, Tokyo and Osaka, that I should try to avoid on weekends? Or on the other hand, are there things that you recommend to do on the weekends?
I addressed this in my most recent video on the biggest mistakes to avoid when planning your itinerary. So for weekends, I do not recommend things like an amusement park, things that charge an admission ticket and are going to get super crowded because they can just be crazy crowded. What I avoid on, or what I do recommend on the weekend is somewhere where it's nice to have that feeling of a whole bunch of people. So in Osaka, if you go out to like Dontonbori, outside doing the street food, seeing the lights. In Tokyo, if you go somewhere like Shibuya Scramble Crossing, where it feels more cool the more people are there, or maybe Shibuya Sky to get the view of the people on the crosswalk below. Also in Tokyo, I really like some of the parks on the weekends, like Yoyogi Park. There's a lot of people who go there to swing dance on the weekends, and the locals will be doing their exercise classes and things. The atmosphere in a park can be nice for people watching on a weekend.
In general, we stay home on the weekends. That's because we spend a lot of time in Japan. Yeah.
We have the ability to just stay in
It's
on
just
the
gotten
weekend.
so crowded. So yeah, you have to, this is a great question, and you have to really think about what you should do and not do on the weekends, to ensure that you have a good time. Good morning, Hen. How are you? So let's see. Yeah, we know you're going to Sapporo. And yes, so the question is going from Singapore Changi to Sapporo's airport directly, or go from Changi Airport to Narita and then take the Hayabusa to Sapporo. Those are great, both great options. And we love the trains and we love the Hayabusa. If you guys aren't familiar with the Hayabusa, it's the fastest Shinkansen in Japan. It only goes to the north up to Hokkaido. It's just a beautiful train. It's a beautiful ride. But I think you need to just weigh what you're going to do. I think you're planning on stopping in places like on your way back, if I remember correctly, through the Tohoku region.
So for me personally, if you had the option for a direct flight into Hokkaido, I would do that just to save time and then use your JR Pass stopping off at a lot of places coming back down. Just because although we do like going between Tokyo and Hokkaido on the train, it's a long train ride. So you're basically going to take up like a day of your trip by doing
You'll have
that.
you got to change trains at least once. So you have to take two trains. You have to take the Hayabusa up to Hakodate, and then from there you got to switch to a limited express train. So total of 8 hours on the train you're going to spend. It's a beautiful ride, but as
But
long as you're
if I
prepared for
had,
that.
yeah, if I had a direct flight into Hokkaido, I'd do that and then enjoy the scenery and everything on your
Yeah.
way back down.
So what we do, as you know, we're in the same area as you, is we fly from Changi to Haneda, and then from Haneda we fly to Sapporo. But if you can get a direct flight, even better, and then just do the other way, take the train the other way. You'll save a lot of time, and then that way you still get to enjoy it.
One more day to use your pass. Whenever we use a pass, we try to maximize.
Hi, Bacon. Do women in onsen use a modesty cloth? I have heard a lot about proper etiquette for men using a modesty cloth, putting it on their heads, but do women use them?
So when you go to an onsen, there's an area to change, put your clothes in the locker. Then there's two towels. You'll get like a smaller little towel and a bigger towel. And so the idea is you leave the big towel in like the changing room, and you can take the smaller towel, which is shaped like hand drying cloth we would use in the US. You can take that one with you to the onsen, so you can do whatever you can manage to cover up with it if you feel the need. I guess the locals don't feel the need as much. But when you're in the onsen, you're not supposed to let the towel touch the water. So for women, you'd have your hair up, like put it up in a bun so your hair doesn't touch the water. You can fold up your little towel. People like balance it on their head so it doesn't get in the water, or you can just set it next to the onsen bath. And then when you first get out of the onsen bath, you're supposed to use that little towel to dry yourself off as much as possible before you go back to the changing room and use your full towel to completely dry off. And I guess if you want the benefits of like the minerals in the water, they don't recommend showering and rinsing the onsen water off afterwards, just drying yourself. But hopefully we'll share some more in upcoming videos about onsen etiquette, because that is something that I know people are interested in.
We're hoping to interview some people regarding this that like work in these places. But also, as far as the modesty thing going, that's completely up to you. A lot of people don't cover up at all. They just walking around.
I think the Japanese don't care because they're used to it. So it's more for foreigners. It's just they're not so used to it.
Okay, from Navinda again, question 3. We land in Kansai and plan to use the Kansai Hiroshima JR Pass. Do we need to wait in line at immigration?
This is going towards getting the stamp in your passport. Yes, you
Yes.
need to get the stamp. If you are a family, I can't remember from the earlier question, but families often have a priority line at immigration that helps you get it through really quickly.
Yes, I think you're the one with the child with the 20-month-old. Yeah, just even show your child to the staff if they don't see you, and then they'll move you.
Direct you to priority, and we get through immigration really fast by going through the family priority line. But get your stamp.
All right, from Snafu again, for USJ, I have an express pass, but it doesn't cover all the rides I want. Can I get attraction time entry for all the rides that are not included in my pass?
So there are only certain rides at USJ that offer the attraction timed entry, and I think which rides offer it changes on a daily basis based on crowd level. So as long as it's showing up in the app that a ride has the option for attraction timed entry, then you can try to go ahead and get it through the USJ app. It's just that not all rides even have that in the first place, and then given a particular day based on crowd level, they may be offering it or not. So definitely have the USJ app all set up, ready to go, and you can try to get some rides. I think there is a page on the USJ website which lists what rides could offer attraction timed entry. We do have a few videos on our channel for tips for those visiting USJ.
Hi, Joanne. I booked an overnight stay in Hakone on October 3rd to 4th, not knowing that the 4th is a cultural holiday. There'll be a big procession at 1 p.m. Should I be concerned about big crowds and train reservations?
It might be interesting if there's going to be a procession. That sounds like something worth watching.
Yeah, I absolutely attend that. But as far as being concerned,
train reservations. So, for instance, if you're taking either the Shinkansen or if you're taking the romance car to and from Hakone, make your seat reservations in advance. So for trains, it's normally 1 month in advance that you can make reservations. And even for the romance car, you can get your seat reservations online. So if you know there's a holiday, I would definitely, get your train reservations in time, and then hopefully you already have a place booked as well.
Good morning, Anthony. Hello, all the way from Jakarta, Indonesia. We'll travel to Japan at the end of September. How will the weather be?
September is one of those transitional months where it's going from summer towards fall, but I think in general, September is still more like summer weather. So hot, humid, maybe a lot of what you're used to. Also, typhoon season can peak in September, August or September in Japan, in Tokyo area. So also a chance of typhoon. So by that point, end of September, it may start cooling down, but I feel like it's really like the
Yeah.
end of October where it drastically starts to cool down.
In our experience, it's been pretty warm in September throughout the entire month, but yeah, it can cool down towards the end. From Palm X2JS, would you recommend putting all tax-free goods into carry-on bags to help inspections, or are they fine if they are packed in checked baggage? I want to expedite things, mitigate any hassle. Yes, I would absolutely put them in in your carry-on bags, especially if I don't know if it's gone into effect yet, where the new way is where you will be refunded
At
once
the airport.
at the airport.
They're changing over to
Yeah.
that system.
So yeah, I would definitely have them available.
Maybe put dirty clothes in your checked luggage and put your things you've recently purchased into your carry-on bags. It has been that you just get the tax-free at the stores, but they're changing their system to where you need to keep your receipts and be reimbursed the tax at the airport. So in that case, you're going to need to have all those items ready for inspection at the airport.
Hey, Dadabetic, how is it? How are you? How was the linen clothes besides the wrinkles?
They were comfortable, but now they're just hanging in my closet because I don't want to iron the linen. So in general, we wear mostly merino wool because it's just a really good fiber for travel clothing. And I did take linen to Okinawa. It was nice. It is super wrinkled, and I don't feel like having that kind of stress on the next trip of having to ask for an iron our clothes, pack them up, they get all wrinkled again. So
Right.
I'm back to wearing mostly my merino wool
Yes,
clothes.
I agree with Heidi completely. I mean, she did all the ironing, so thank you. But it was great in Okinawa for the weather
For
because
sun
I
protection.
got sunburnt really bad, and so I just wore a long sleeve linen shirt all the time, and it was very nice to wear it in the heat and the humidity.
So it can be a good option for summer travel.
All right, another question from Anthony. Is it possible to navigate in the middle of Hakone with luggage? I am planning to stay in the middle of the Hakone area.
So what I would recommend for you is as soon as you get into the area, Hakone Yamoto Station, they offer a luggage forwarding service right from there. So you can go to the luggage forwarding desk and just ask them to ship your luggage to your hotel. There will be a small fee for that, but I don't recommend bringing like actual suitcases on the sightseeing transportation in Hakone, like when you're doing the cable car and the ropeway. It's just easier if you use the luggage forwarding. Or the other option too is if you're only going for an overnight trip, maybe store your luggage in Tokyo. There's, luggage storage counters. Even if you go to the Odakyu Sightseeing Service Center to pick up a Hakone Free Pass, they also offer luggage storage. So either leave most of it in Tokyo, forward it to your next city, or if you do have to actually bring it with you to Hakone, use the luggage forwarding.
Yes, because it can be miserable if it's really crowded, like you're in a busy season or even on the weekends. So many tourists bring lots of luggage, and if you're going to be taking the trains, it could be just jam-packed, and it just won't be fun. But, lugging it around the middle of Hakone, there's a lot of hills too, so I would definitely take that into consideration.
I'll link to our video on luggage delivery services.
Hi, Katie. In the countryside, when the bus stops in both directions but only has a physical stop on one side, which side do you stand on?
Yeah.
I would stand where the sign is, because, and then what I would do is if you see a bus coming, raise your hand so that they know that you want the bus to stop no matter what, and then you could just ask them and find out. Because in our experience, the bus drivers have always been. I've never encountered a rude bus driver yet. They've always been very kind and helpful. I think especially in the countryside. So
Buses are confusing
they can be
versus
very
trains
confusing.
because trains, there's a platform. Buses, sometimes I'm on the wrong side of the road and I just rush across really fast.
But yeah,
Especially in the countryside, it can be even more.
definitely raise your
confusing.
hand so that they know that you want to get on the bus, even if you don't get on the bus. So you will know. Stop them.
Good luck.
Yes, good luck. It sounds like fun to be out in the countryside. All right.
What did you want to say? Thank you for the super chat.
Oh yeah, in a minute here. Okay. Hi, Heidi. What neighborhood in Kyoto is the best to stay? Hotel or a machiya? So, that really depends on you. I would say what type of experience you're after. So there's a lot of great, different types of accommodations in Japan, especially in Kyoto. So I think you just really need to think about what you're after, because you can just stay in an ordinary plain hotel, or you can stay in a machiya and get an incredible cultural experience. So it just depends on the person, I think. Oh, and as far as neighborhood goes, I would also choose like what you're going to see, because Kyoto is very spread out too. So like we personally like to stay in the Higashi area, which is the east side, which is near the Kiyomizu-dera Temple in the Gion district, just because that's closer to the river, and it's also closer to the Pontocho area, so it's extremely walkable. And there's just a lot of attractions in the area that you can walk for 20, 30 minutes in each direction, even up to an hour. Sometimes we just walk in that area because there's just so much to see and do in that area. Whereas if you stay on the other sides, things tend to be more spread out. That's just based on our experience.
Do you want to switch over?
Hi, CCAC101. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. From Vancouver. All right, let us know when you're coming to Japan and if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
From Major Britt Madsen, hi. Would you choose Kyoto or Osaka as your base if you want to make a day trip to Hiroshima?
So I almost mentioned this earlier, is these days I actually recommend staying in Osaka, especially as they're starting to have more like tourist accommodation taxes in Kyoto. If you stay in Osaka, you can do a day trip to Kyoto, you can do a day trip to Nara, you can be closer to the Shinkansen if that's how you're planning to get to Hiroshima. So it might be a good idea to make Osaka your base.
I would definitely choose Osaka if you're going to Hiroshima, because the Shinkansen, you're going to want to start from Shin Osaka Station to get to Hiroshima, and it's just a direct shot. You won't have to change trains or anything like that.
Plus plenty of accommodation options in Osaka.
True, much more than Kyoto.
And we do have a video on where to stay in Osaka.
Hi, Dorothy. Finally going to a wonderful location and just finished booking flights and hotels with my adult daughters. And because of my limitations, how do I find elevators and or escalators? If you're meaning like at train stations or in stations in general,
I have an answer.
You have
So,
an answer.
on Google Maps, which is what we use to navigate in Japan, there is an option to check that you want accessibility route. And so if you turn that accessibility route on your Google Maps, then it will direct you to like the exits that are likely to have the elevators and stuff. Because in general, JR train stations tend to have elevators plus escalators, and then subway stations, the metro and subway, they do not always have elevators. Sometimes there isn't one. So definitely turn on that accessibility route to plan your route, so it'll help direct you to which way their elevators are.
Yeah, we're assuming that you mean stations, because most other places do have elevators or escalators. They're really prevalent all throughout Japan. Just also make sure your hotel has it too.
Yes, some hotels in Japan do not have elevators. So when you're booking the hotels, make sure you choose one that does. Okay. Oh, did you skip something?
No.
Okay.
Did I? Was there another part to the question?
No. Sorry.
Okay. Hi, Adrian. Can you recommend an insurance?
The one travel insurance we've been using for years is Safety Wing. So we use it as travel medical insurance, which is just for emergencies. If something big happened, like we broke our leg, we had to go to the emergency room, it would cover that. It's not like a comprehensive health insurance, but most likely most people have that separately at home. And then it also has some travel related benefits as well. Things like lost luggage. Also, when he books our flights, he uses a credit card that gives us some sort of travel insurance benefits too. But for medical, we use Safety Wing.
But also in general, I mean, not that we don't want anybody to get hurt, but if you did, medical in the hospitals are way cheaper in Japan than they are in the United States. Hi, Gus. How to move with a stroller in the best way while in train stations and metro, and how about escalators?
So that's the same thing about when you're using Google Maps, turn on the accessibility route, and then that's going to help direct you towards the elevators. We personally don't use a stroller very much. We've been traveling with our kids ever since they were little toddlers, and I just wear them in a soft structured carrier because it's easier if there's stairs and no elevator. It's easier to get on and off the trains. If you're taking a stroller on a train, I don't recommend doing that during rush hour, either morning or evening. Do you know what the rush hours are?
Yeah, between 7 and 9 in the morning, and the evenings, it's longer period of time. I would say from 5 to 9 or even to 10 p.m., depending on which routes. Usually the routes going out into the suburbs are the busiest ones in the nighttime.
So with the stroller, try to avoid those rush hours. And personally, we don't bring a stroller, and then a lot of attractions you can rent a stroller for relatively cheap, like maybe 500 yen or 1,000 yen per day. So things like amusement parks, places where you're going to be walking around all day, often have stroller rentals. Some
Yeah.
of them are even free. So I personally just don't bring a stroller.
But if you're going to, and when you go to the subway and the train stations, try to enter at the ends of the train cars, not in the middle. The ends of the train cars has more space where you can stand, and sometimes there's even space to put your stroller, not in the middle. So again, if you when you see the train pulling up, look for the ends of the car, not the center of the car.
It should also be marked on the ground on the platform. Well, some stations it's marked which section will be for wheelchairs and strollers. So often there's no seats in that part of the train, so you can stand with your stroller there.
Yeah, and just take it nice and slow, and you'll be fine. Just the hardest thing will be looking for the elevators. But as far as escalators, you can certainly take them on the escalators. Another question from Major Britt Madsen. If you have an early flight out of Haneda, would you recommend staying at one of the airport hotels? If it is definitely like if it's before like the trains start, absolutely. Because otherwise you're going to have to make arrangements like with a bus or something even earlier to get there, or have a taxi schedule as well. So that is our preference, is we have an early flight to be as close to the airport as possible. Because the last thing you want to do is get, like stuck in a traffic jam by having to take a taxi or something like that, especially if there's no train and you don't want to miss your flight. So yeah, that's what we would do. All right. Hi, Maya. What are your recommendations about making restaurant reservations that fit into your itinerary? How much time gap would you have before the reservation to ensure you're not running late?
So we normally don't reserve restaurants just as a family with young kids, but for my upcoming trip, I'm planning to travel with a friend, so I am planning to do some restaurant reservations. What I'm personally doing is just leaving them really for the end of the day, like thinking, okay, we'll have dinner like 7 to 9 p.m., and that's the absolute last thing we'll do. So I'm trying to get all of our sightseeing in before that. It also depends what time of year you're visiting, because taking in consideration we're going to be like fall, winter, and the sun sets around 4:30 means it's already going to be like dark and cold. So by 5 o'clock, we probably won't be doing much more outdoors, walking around type sightseeing. And then I like to get to bed early, but for dinner, do you have specific restaurants?
In our experience, is give yourself at least a half an hour more to get there than you think it's going to take you, because we've been late to dinner reservations
You're not supposed
in the evening, and you're not supposed to be late, right? You're never supposed to be late.
To be on time, you need to be like at least 15 minutes early.
Yeah.
And then you didn't say exactly what time of day. I mean, we personally just do hotel breakfast that's included with the hotel because it's easier for us to eat at the hotel and then get out the door and start our day than to try to go somewhere for breakfast. I mean, I would really only have like one reservation in a day personally. I wouldn't try to like make breakfast, lunch, and dinner reservations because then you'd just be rushing from one to the next. So I guess just the calm part of your day.
So to add on to that question is, do we recommend making restaurant reservations? It depends. If it is a popular restaurant that you know about, then absolutely make a reservation. Just anywhere that is going to be busy and you want to eat there, yes, make a reservation, because it's so often that they're so completely sold out for the night, that they're completely booked. I mean, and you won't even be able to get in. So again, that just depends on, doing your research ahead of time and checking, because there's many times we've walked into a restaurant, and they're like, do you have a reservation? No, sorry, we're full. So
there's two things you can try: Tabalog, or you can try Table Check, because there also are restaurants in Japan that don't accept reservations at all. And those are the ones where people get in line an hour before it even opens, waiting for it to open. So double check if the restaurant accepts reservations.
Hi, Robert and Maria. James, Tokyo in February. Will it be snowing? We'll be going to Nagano as well. Our third trip to Japan. Decided to go there in the cooler months. Tokyo in summer is unbelievably hot.
So with Tokyo, it can snow. Sometimes it does, but there's no guarantee, and it's not like there's going to be piles of snow everywhere. So there is a possibility you could get a snow day in February in Tokyo, but Nagano should be snowing.
No doubt.
Right?
It's going to be snowing in Nagano for sure.
February tends to be the snowiest time of year if you're in snowy areas like Nagano.
Yeah, we got a ton of snow in Nagano this past year, and actually in Tokyo we had quite more snow than we've ever experienced this past year as well.
Day in March, I think.
Yeah,
maybe
even in
two
March.
snow days.
Yeah, two snow days in March
in
this
Tokyo,
past year,
which is
but
rare.
it didn't stick around. I mean, it was just snowed and then it just melted right away.
Yeah, months.
Family and memories. What application should we check for the weather update? We plan to go to Sapporo December 13th to the 21st. Would like to know if we can see snow.
There's one called like Holiday Weather that I use online, just to get an idea in advance. So I think Sapporo December 13th through 21st, there's probably going to be snow by then. They tend to get their first snowfall in November or beginning of December. Also, there's a Sapporo tourism Instagram account, which is really good to follow because they'll post like the daily temperature and if there's any snow and kind of show what it looks like in Sapporo. But
we've definitely seen snow at that time of year for sure.
You can just do a search online. I think Holiday Weather is a website I use. When it gets close to our trip, I just use the weather app that's built in on my phone to check, what the current conditions are.
Closer to the 20th is really when the snow really starts coming down. But one year when we arrived right around the 12th, it was snowing that day quite a bit. In fact, they had closed the airport because there was so much snow. But then we had like a week where we didn't have snow. So yeah, it could be up and down, but I would say definitely towards the end of your trip there in Sapporo, you're going to see snow.
Weather's always changing in Japan too, so you can look at past years, but you kind of never know what you're going to get.
I'm Renee. We're going to Tokyo, Osaka, and Kyoto for the first few weeks in October. What's the weather like? We're trying to figure out what to wear.
So I do have a video on Tokyo weather and what to pack and wear for each season. I can pull up the link for that. It varies a little bit when you get down to Osaka. Any points on that about as you get more south, how the weather changes?
For the first 2 weeks in October, yeah, it's, in our experience, it has not been cold yet. It has been, I would say, temperature-wise, I would say the lowest is going to be like 60 degrees, maybe like 15 degrees Celsius or something like that. But it didn't get cold usually until November.
Like the very end of October.
So first 2 weeks, it's probably going to still be more on the warm side, but I would still bring a jacket just in case because you just never know.
A light jacket because you don't know for evenings or mornings. I just linked to my video that goes over the typical weather for Tokyo for each season.
But it's the same with Osaka and Kyoto. Those places are going to stay warmer longer in general, but yeah, for the most part, I think it's going to be on the warmer side. From Rocket, for the Hokuriku Shinkansen and Thunderbird, do you need to reserve seats?
There are particular train services on that route that are reserved only. Is it Kagayaki?
The Kagayaki in particular, the Kagayaki Shinkansen is 100% reserved only. So if you want to ride on that train or if you see it coming up, you have to reserve on that to get on that train.
That runs on the Hokuriku Shinkansen line. There are other services on the Hokuriku that are not reserved only. And then Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, you can get both, but we do recommend reservations on the Thunderbird Express because it can sell out. And especially if you have luggage and stuff, I would definitely try to reserve on the Thunderbird. It's a much smaller train, even though it's still an express train. Because if you're going to ride the Shinkansen and then go to the Thunderbird, you're going to be like, whoa, this is big and now this is small.
Yeah, the overhead luggage rack is smaller on the Thunderbird, so there's not as much luggage room.
And as far as the luggage space on the side too, it's very small compared to on the Shinkansen. So take that into consideration. Try not to bring large luggage on the Thunderbird.
And there's even the option of making your reservations that day from a ticketing machine. We've done that before where we made a combined reservation for the Hokuriku Shinkansen plus the Thunderbird all at once using the ticket machine. And it's a really easy transfer between the two.
Hi, Steve. Suggestions on how to fast track customs and immigration.
So there's something called Visit Japan Web, which is a website, and you can go ahead and fill in your trip information in advance, like your hotel address, your plane ticket. Somebody asked about what about if it's a cruise, and I don't know, but if you have plane ticket, you can fill in your plane ticket information, your entry date, and if you do that, each member of your party should get a QR code issued. If you only have one QR code and multiple people, then you're not done with the process. Each person should get a QR code. So when you get to immigration, you show that QR code to the immigration officer along with your passport, and it just helps them process you faster. And also the QR code can be used for customs as well. You just need to fill out the immigration and customs declaration within Visit Japan Web. I can see if I can pull a link for that from one of our videos. We do have a video on things to do before you visit Japan that goes over things like that. Okay.
Okay, next question is from Jill. We are planning to go to Japan 2026 October for a month. Will it be too early for the autumn leaves in Tokyo, Osaka areas? And what about Hokkaido?
Just asking about October.
Yes.
I think October is early for Tokyo.
I would say it's early for both Tokyo and Osaka. However, Hokkaido should be.
Hokkaido has a much earlier season. I'm not super familiar, but you can go ahead and search like autumn leaves forecast Hokkaido.
Yeah, most likely
And this is
Hokkaido.
2026,
but-
so it's actually a little bit
Yeah,
early
it's
for
a
the
little early.
forecast. Once you're within like the year, but you could look for the
Yeah,
2025 forecast
for
to just
historically
see
anyways
what
as well.
typically.
But-
I'm guessing October Hokkaido might have
Yeah.
already.
Your better chances for Hokkaido. Hi, Yukiya. I'm leaving in 2 days. Is it really hot right now? Yes, we are not in Japan, but everyone we've been communicating with saying that it's been like a heat wave every day. But maybe it depends on where you are. This is from people in Tokyo. But yes, it's been an extremely hot year. They had record number of heat days, record-breaking heat days, I think 10 in a row recently.
Be prepared.
Yes, be prepared.
Summer in Japan can be really intense, and even more so this summer.
Hi, Diane. We are traveling to a small village on Shikoku. Is it okay to travel on local buses with luggage?
Try not to do it too much. I mean, just try to be polite. If you do take luggage onto a bus, try to keep it out of people's way. There's not usually a whole lot of room on local buses. So depending on your itinerary, your travel schedule, if it's possible for you to just use luggage forwarding and send your suitcase ahead to your hotel to avoid bringing it on the local buses, that would be ideal. We do have videos on our channel about luggage delivery.
Yeah.
If you absolutely have to bring in a small bus, just try to be polite. In those kind of situations, I really like to bring only luggage that will fit on my lap or right at my feet in front of me and not a huge suitcase because it can be a big inconvenience.
Yeah, the key is just to not block the aisleway. Some people do. I'm just completely oblivious, like they're on their phone and have completely block the aisleway. As long as you don't do that, I think you'll be fine. Another question about weather in October. So based on our experience, it's still pretty warm.
You're hopefully past typhoon season, still kind of warm weather, not quite cooled off. Humidity decreases during that time, which is nice because it's really humid in the summer. But again, if you're asking about Tokyo, you can watch our video on Tokyo weather that really goes into the details.
Hi, Igene. What is the fastest way to arrive from Narita to Osaka Itami? Can I buy the Shinkansen ticket the same day I arrive to Narita? Do you recommend booking advance? My flight is in September. So the fastest way would be to fly there from Narita if you can, fly directly into Itami Airport. Otherwise, yes, you can have a Shinkansen purchased. However, you cannot board it from Narita. You would first have to take the Narita Express, which would be the fastest train to get you to Tokyo Station. And then from Tokyo Station, you would board the Tokaido Shinkansen directly to Shin Osaka Station. But then once you get to Shin Osaka Station, you're going to need to take a bus. That would be the fastest way to get to Itami. Yeah, and I do recommend booking that in advance if you want to make sure that you have a ticket for that day to ride.
But if you're really trying to get to Itami, maybe just fly.
Fastest way would be to fly, for sure. Hi, Danielle. Are there any movie theaters that offer English subtitles? Yes. All of them do actually, as far as I know, but not every movie will have English subtitles. But it's often what they'll have is they'll have the movie in one theater playing it like just in Japanese, and then and another one that will have subtitles. And some of them are even dubbed sometimes, but the subtitles I think are better.
I can't even remember watching a movie in Japan.
Hi, Mary. I'm traveling to Japan in early November. I'm getting a bit overwhelmed with planning, sightseeing, and other excursions. How would you suggest planning without getting overwhelmed?
Maybe take a break. Sometimes just take a break and stop thinking about it for a while and then go back. And then what I'm really trying to focus on is it something I would enjoy, or is it something that I think my friend who's going to travel with me will enjoy? And try not to get caught up too much in that you have to do the most touristy things, you have to do the things that everybody on YouTube is telling you to do. Is really think more personal, like what are you interested in? Like I love fabric and dyeing, so if there's some opportunity where I can go see them dye fabric which with natural indigo dye, that's something I'm going to really love and enjoy. Whereas Shibuya Scramble Crossing
Yeah,
is a crosswalk.
it's a
You know,
crosswalk.
it's like so many people want to go there, and so I would put it on an itinerary for a first time person. But do I like going to a crosswalk? Not really.
Right.
So
Yeah.
just try to think like you personally, what are the things you enjoy and what are the things you like, and try not to get caught up in what other people tell you that you need to see or
Right.
do.
Because there's just so many things, especially if you haven't been to Japan, just walking down the street is just such culture shock that I think you would just have an amazing time just doing that in itself. For me, the first time I went, that's still what I remember more than anything, just walking around and just experiencing everything. There was no, TikTok or Instagram or anything like that back then. So I just wandered around. I think Heidi's absolutely right, is try not to get caught up in what everybody else is doing and just simplify for what you want to do. Because
Yeah.
yeah,
And like excursions, maybe plan like one. Like I do recommend taking a side trip either to Mount Fuji or Hakone, but I personally like to do either of those as an overnight trip. Most people do just a rushed day trip, but I like to get somewhere, enjoy the place, spend the night, hopefully have better views of Mount Fuji the next day when I wake up. So I like taking it at a slower pace and being able to enjoy things more rather than packing so much in and say, oh, I accomplished all these things on my checklist, but you didn't get time to really enjoy them. I know it's hard. It's a
it's
very
hard.
difficult
Yeah.
challenge to balance.
Hi, Diane. Do you have any suggestions on an area of Tokyo that is close to the JR stations but a quieter area? Yes, I would recommend the Sumida area. So that area is where Skytree is located, but it is much quieter than the places like Shibuya, Shinjuku, or even the Chuo area near Tokyo Station. And the accommodations are cheaper too. And what's great about the Sumida area is the hotels in general are also cheaper there. You'll find smaller hotels in the Sumida area. It's all of Japan is, I mean, all of Tokyo is extremely walkable too. So we like to stay in the Sumida area, like near Skytree or just in the neighborhoods around there and walk from there. Like we'll walk from there to Asakusa. We just walk over the bridge and stuff. It takes like 20 minutes and it's just a beautiful, quiet area. So
It's not as centrally located, so if you want really good connection to transportation, you could even be maybe closer to Tokyo Station.
you can, but I mean, as long as I think like near a station, and you don't necessarily have to be near a JR station. The key is to be near, the best thing is to be near a station that has both a train and a subway, because then you have multiple options how to get to places faster and less chance of you having to also make a change depending on where you need to go. Hi, Heather. Is Japan Premium Economy worth it? Definitely considering it for the long haul flight to Tokyo. Yes, it's nice, but also their regular economy is pretty darn good too. I would say their premium economy and their economy are better than anybody else's, and the service that you get is really worth it. So uh, we're not really big people, so we fit in the regular economy just fine. The premium economy has a little bit more space and a little bit nicer seats. So I think you just need to weigh that. For us, the regular economy is just is perfectly
It's
good,
good
but the
enough.
premium economy is a nice little extra. Hi, JC. Thanks for doing this. Is there anything to do around Ryogoku Kokugikan besides getting small merch? Is it walkable to Skytree? It absolutely is. And we were just talking about this area. This is the Sumida area, Sumida Koto area. There are a ton of museums in their area as well, such as the Kokusai museum, the one who made the wave paintings, if you guys are familiar with that. And there's sword museums. There's just a lot of museums in the area. And then you could just, if you wanted to, you could walk over the bridge into Kuramae, which is also an up and coming district that has a lot of like arts and crafts and
Coffee
coffee
shops.
shops and things like that. So it's a very up and coming Kuramae. And next to that is Asakusa, where they have Sensoji Temple. So yes, I really like, we really like that area, that whole area, even the Ryogoku area. It's not just for sumo, you know, and stables and things like that.
I think there's some nice parks too.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's parks there near Skytree has the I can't think of the name of the park, but Sumida Park as well, and you can cross over to the river. Yeah, really lovely place.
For anybody staying in that Sumida or Asakusa area, I did make a video that's like a 1-day Asakusa itinerary for how to visit Asakusa and Sumida.
Hey Kato, thank you so much for the super chat. Aloha. I've been to Japan many times, and your videos are so helpful with planning. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Let us know if you have any questions. And Honolulu, yeah, that's our home away from home. We hope to get back there someday in the near future.
I just put a link in the chat box for the Asakusa Sumida 1-day itinerary for anybody interested.
Hi, Tisha. We will be there over the new year, and we will going to Tokyo and Osaka on January 3rd to an Airbnb. I'm wondering if Yamato offices will be open over the weekend, 3rd, 4th. Excuse me.
Not sure. So you're right there in that window where a lot of things close January 1st through 3rd. I can't remember if we've ever tried to
Yeah.
use Yamato Transport right at that time.
So usually you can go to the office and drop stuff off, but they'll tell you that they're actually closed and they won't ship it yet. That's the most likely scenario. But this is the 3rd. Things usually get back up and running by the 3rd.
Maybe
So
just plan to bring your luggage with you on the Shinkansen if Yamato's not open. And then also make sure you schedule that Shinkansen ticket in advance. So it's usually a month in advance unless you kind of pre-book it even earlier, because that can be a very busy time where the Shinkansen seats
Right.
might be filled up.
And what is the best neighborhood I can say in Osaka in September? Well, I mean, the generic answer would be it really depends on what you want to see and do. But for most people, I recommend you stay in the Dotonbori Namba area. We personally prefer the Namba area, which is a little bit south of Dotonbori. There's just a lot of really nice shopping and restaurants in the area, and it's not as so crazy madness as Dotonbori. I mean, they're right next to each other, but along that strip, if you follow up the Midosuji subway line, I would try to be near that, because if you hop on that subway line, you can easily get to pretty much anywhere you want to go. But as far as seasons go to, I think any time of year, September or any time of year, that's where you want to be.
I just linked again to our video, Where to Stay in Osaka. So all of our Where to Stay videos go over the neighborhoods that you can choose from.
Hi, Tan. Is there a workaround to using a Visa to pay for digital IC via Apple Pay?
So in the past, it often didn't accept visas. I've heard now that some people's visa do work. If you haven't tried, go ahead and try yours and see whether or not it works. Personally, I got an Apple Card, which is a MasterCard specifically for recharging my digital IC card. But I think now at this point, my Visa might even work. So it's worth a try first.
Yeah, we've been hearing from some people that's been working. And it also, if you're not in Japan yet, try again once you're in Japan. It could make a difference. Hi, Dorothy. We need help with trains. What's the best guide to have or buy?
Watch our videos. We have videos on getting IC cards for local trains. I have a video on understanding limited express trains. We have videos on how to buy and use the various forms of Shinkansen tickets. So basically take a look at our playlist
Yes,
on KENSHOQUEST.
we have a lot of information on how to ride trains, because it can be very confusing, and we'll be always making new videos on trains as new information comes out. But any of our videos that are still up in our playlist, they are still current, and all the information is very accurate as well.
I'm going to link to a playlist on how to buy train tickets in Japan.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I don't really know of any books that you can buy on it. Another good source is you can check Navitime. They used to be really good. It's just that they've turned into it's
It's
just
an
full of
app.
advertising now. So
It's an app called Japan Travel, and it's by Navitime, and you can help find your routes with that, especially if you're using some sort of regional pass. You can filter it for your pass, so it'll show what's included or not, but it is a third-party app, so it's not always 100% accurate. And for navigating, we use Google Maps. So we find what bus, train we need to take for local transportation on Google Maps.
Hi, Okashi. Hello. We booked the Shinkansen from Hachinohe to Tokyo Station, but instead want to get off at Ueno. Do we need to change tickets or is it okay? You can certainly get off at Ueno. Just remember, if you bought a single journey, as soon as you get off, your ticket is void. You will not be able to get back on. And this is anywhere. Let's say if you even got off earlier, like in Morioka or something, you can't get back on.
But
So,
it's fine to get off a
perfectly
stop
fine.
early.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Nobody's going to
No
stop
one's
you
going to
from
say
getting
anything.
off the train.
No problem.
Now, if you're changing which station you're getting on the train, then that might be different.
Hi, Stephanie. Thanks, team, for the great tips. Thank you. Any recommendations for health remedies easily accessible from konbinis? Example, fatigue, muscle soreness, constipation?
There's, in addition to konbinis, there's a lot of drugstores. How do you say that? Matsumoto.
Matsumoto Kyoshi is our favorite because it's like everywhere.
It's got kind of yellow
Yeah,
writing.
it's like
right?
yellow,
So it's easy to
yellow
identify.
writing.
So there's a lot of places that are pharmacies, and there's often like a pharmacist there. But they do have Tiger Balm makes these patches you can stick on that are for like muscle soreness. So it's got the Tiger Balm stuff built into it.
If you're familiar with Tiger Balm, it's got like a
Tiger Balm is
citronelle
something that
center.
you rub on, and
Yeah.
it can be good for mosquito bites. It can be good for muscle soreness. It's kind of like an icy hot. Maybe you might consider in the West. Constipation, maybe bring some prunes with you or eat some prunes. Stay hydrated.
Natto. I highly, highly recommend, if you've never tried natto, is to have natto in the morning while in Japan. I know a lot of people say it's stinky and stuff like that, but it doesn't have to be.
It's like fermented stringy soybeans, and it's typically part of breakfast in Japan. And yeah, it's good for digestion.
Very good for digestion.
Got probiotics.
But otherwise, like Heidi said, the Matsumoto Kyoshi or the kusuri, look for kusuri. They're everywhere as well. They are usually very nearby konbinis as well. And like Heidi said, they're the drugstores as well. And they'll usually have a pharmacist that can help you.
And for fatigue and muscle soreness, maybe see if you can soak in an onsen in the evening. So that's typically how Japanese do their days. They have like their day sightseeing, and then the last part of the day is soaking in an onsen hot spring bath to really rejuvenate. And also some hotels, like once you get more on the luxury end, will even offer in-room massages. So you could book and have a masseuse just come to your hotel room, which would be really nice after walking all day long.
Okay, hi, family and memories. What pass should we buy to go around Sapporo? Any ski resort in Sapporo open, easy, and accessible to go on the 3rd week of December?
So as far as a pass, I have a video all about the Sapporo Furano area pass, which is good for visiting Sapporo, Otaru, Asahikawa. In the winter, it's not as good for going to Furano as it is in the summer. And then we do recommend a ski resort, right? Is that
So Bankei is actually in the city of Sapporo. It's on the Murayama on the hillside. So if you stayed near there, you could get there in like 20 minutes if you took a taxi. It's so close if you stay in the Murayama district. But if you were in the city, you can easily get to Bankei. But as far as the 3rd week of December, the ski resorts will open when there's snow. So I cannot guarantee you that they will be open yet. Though I believe we went there around that time.
Around that time,
Yeah.
yeah. And we just took a taxi to the ski resort, and it was so close
Yeah.
to the edge.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Like
Bankei. Bankei was so
Bankei.
easily accessible from Sapporo.
And if you have kids, there's also a really cool tubing place that you can get a ticket just where they can go tubing, and it's just so awesome. There's just a bunch of hills that they go on and stuff. Super fun. And if you want to take ski lessons, they also have English ski lessons that you can book, but you need to book that in advance to make sure that they have that they can get an instructor that speaks English.
So I just linked to my video that's about train pass to use in Sapporo and Hokkaido. And then we also have a video on fun things to do in Sapporo in winter. So I'll drop the link for that too. It's one of our favorites. We like to go to Hokkaido in the winter because Hokkaido. I would say they maybe have the best snow in the world in Hokkaido. So.
Our youngest son calls it, what does he call it? Royal sugar.
Royal sugar, because it's like powdered sugar,
like
the consistency of the snow.
Hey Sherman, planning a trip to Sapporo the last week of November and just staying in the city area. Do you think I'll be okay in sneakers? Oh, interesting. Another question about that. With ice cleats, with the ice cleats, or should I bring some sturdier footwear?
Well, it might just start snowing around that time. So, I mean, it's up to you. What you could do is wear what you have. And then if you need to, there's plenty of shops. There's those like covered shopping street. What's that called?
Yeah, the Shoten guys. So there's a really big covered shopping. I can't remember the name of it, the one in Sapporo.
Tanuki something.
Yeah, that's right.
So the covered arcade has a lot of stores. Also, like George said, look for any ABC Mart. They sell tons of winter shoes there. So if it turns out that you need to get a pair,
Yeah,
you could.
if you need, but you might be fine. You might be fine at that time of year. Hi, Tisha. My son is allergic to mushrooms. We've had a friend write this out in Japanese for us. Is mushrooms in a lot of foods, broth? Will it be difficult to find without, not anaphylaxis?
It can be mixed into a lot of things, so it's definitely a good idea that you have it written out. And so at any restaurant, you're going to want to show that to the waiter right away because they are respectful of food allergies when it's an actual allergy, so they can let you know. I mean, I might just
A lot of ramens
write
have
the
mushrooms
broths
in
and
the broths.
soups. You might want to avoid those.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say mostly the ramens I would avoid or definitely have the card available for that. Okay. Hi, Kamalika. We are in Japan in the first 2 weeks of November. Could you suggest some places for autumn foliage?
First 2 weeks of November. Okay, there's probably some stuff. If you're asking specifically about like Tokyo, I did make a shareable map that has some of the best places in Tokyo. I'm trying to think, where did I link that? I think on my most recent video. I can try to pull that up for you where I've marked, at least for Tokyo, where to see autumn leaves. I'll link to it in the chat box.
Okay, we've just hit an hour here. We'll just answer a couple more questions you guys had. We want to be try to stick to our time today. We got to do something with our kids. Anyways. Hi, Diane. Do you have any recommendations for a good stomach diarrhea over-the-counter med that I can get purchased there in case of? So no particular brand in general, but again, look for the drugstores. Matsumoto Kiyoshi is a very common one. The sign is written in English and it's a yellow sign. Or if you just see any drugstore, just go in there and go up to the counter, and they always have a pharmacist on duty because you can't really buy this type of stuff without talking to a pharmacist first.
But two things I can recommend that we bring with us is we bring activated charcoal. That's good if you perhaps get like food poisoning. And there's a BioFlora probiotic that we use that supposedly if you take that, that might help prevent getting food poisoning in the first place. So we bring our own probiotic, we bring our own activated charcoal with us. And then if we need any additional medicine, we visit the pharmacy.
And as far as which apps do we use Tabelog, like Heidi's mentioned earlier. It's spelled TABELLOG.com, and like
Table Check
is another one. They all have ratings and stuff, but the Tabelog is the main one that the Japanese use. The thing to take into consideration is that the Japanese are very harsh with their ratings. So I would say anything over a 3.5 is considered like really, really good.
Yeah, nothing's gonna have a 5.
Yeah. Oh, and our buddy here, Databetic, just chimed in saying that we have been able to make reservations at Torikizoku via Google Maps, which is super awesome. Didn't know that, so thank you. And Torikizoku is a great restaurant that if you are new to the idea of eating at izakaya or just like to eat like a yakitori or skewers on a stick, it's a great place to go have dinner.
And what we do is we just show up there right at opening time without a reservation, and we can usually get in that way by getting there right when they open.
From Baja, we are traveling next week to Japan. So can you recommend car rental? We are a family of 4. You can certainly rent a car in Japan. 2 things I'd take into consideration. First of all, is in Japan they drive on the left side of the road. So if you don't drive on the left side of the road, and if you've never driven on the left side of the road, I would pass unless you absolutely are going to be in somewhere that requires driving, because the transportation otherwise is fantastic. So unless you're going somewhere rural, I would pass on it. Second, you need a international driver permit, and you will need to present your passport
and your driver's license.
Right. Oh, and let me add one more: is try to reserve in advance, because if you don't, especially for families, the larger vehicles sell out quickly, and usually you're left with like a two-seater or just an expensive vehicle.
It really depends where you're traveling, because in general, we don't rent a car in Japan. If we're somewhere like Tokyo that's really well connected with public transportation, it's easier to take public transportation than to find parking, pay for toll roads. So normally we only opt for a car rental if we're somewhere more remote, where it's going to be harder to find public transportation.
Yeah. And just to add on to that question from Math Doctor is, if, for a Western driving on on the left side of the road in Japan, for me, it took me years before I got enough guts to do it. And the only reason why is because we've been living in Asia for so long and all the driving is on the left side that I just got used to it. And now, one time I actually forgot. When we back
in
to
the US, he's like, we drive on the left, correct? Like,
Yeah,
nope,
so-
we drive on the right.
But the good thing is in Japan, the driving, I think, is way easier than driving in the United States. The only thing is some of the roads are narrow. And also in Japan, when you come to a stop sign, you need to stop, and you cannot, a stoplight, you cannot turn, okay? If you come to a stoplight, you cannot turn on the stoplight. You have to wait till it turns green.
See how many more we can.
Yeah, we'll just answer a couple more here real quick. Janine, hi Janine. I was thinking about going in the fall. Tokyo, Osaka, Hakone, Hiroshima, and Miyajima. Is it a good time to visit these places?
Yes, I think the fall is one of the best times. Cooler weather, not so hot and humid like summer. It can be somewhat crowded, but I don't think it's going to be as crowded as spring cherry blossom. And when the fall leaves kind of peak is going to be different in those areas. So you might want to look up ahead of time one of the fall autumn leaf forecasts and see how to schedule your trip to kind of follow the leaves as you go south. But yes, I do think fall is a great time to visit. It's becoming more popular as people realize it's one of the best times.
And how early do you suggest arriving at Haneda for an international flight? So it depends on what you're going to do. So like if we like to arrive in the morning, but because we stay long term, what we do is you need to think about it. If you arrive in the morning, what are you going to do? Because you can't check into your hotel till like 3 p.m., right? So what we do is we usually book a previous day so we can just go straight to our accommodation if we're going to arrive in the morning. Otherwise,
are you asking about leaving Japan? How early do you suggest arriving at Haneda for an international flight?
Well, it says LAX in my case, so I think it's just arriving.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Answer
arriving
and then departing.
Okay, so yeah, otherwise I think it's better to arrive in the afternoon. That way you can go directly to your hotel and just check in. But the worst time to arrive at Haneda is around anywhere from 5 to 9 p.m. because it's just crazy crowded. And this past springtime, it was so crowded that people were waiting up to 3 hours in immigration, which was like never happened before, never heard of. So take those things into consideration.
But if your question is actually how many hours in advance should I arrive at Haneda to depart to LAX, then
yes.
3 hours?
Yeah, 3 hours. 3 hours is typical. So take into consideration where you're going from, so make sure that you can get there in time. I would take the monorail is a great way to get there. Also the KQ line, those two trains, either the monorail or the KQ line, are fantastic ways to get there. That way you don't have to worry about traffic jams or anything like that. But yeah, I would 3 hours, especially if you haven't been there before. I think Heidi was right. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
Can you guys still see us? My internet seemed to... Okay, maybe move on and see if it's still working. Are you guys still there?
Yeah, we don't know if anybody's still here. We'll try to answer one question here. Hi. So I am staying the second week in October in Toyama for 2 days. First day planning for Kanazawa, confused for the second day itinerary between Shirakawa or Gokayama circuit and Hida Takayama. Please help. So it really depends on what you want to see and do. The Shirakawa-go and Gokayama, those are both, World Heritage sites and can be extremely crowded places. But the Takayama area you want to go to, as long as you're not going for snow, I think that could be a really beautiful, more peaceful place to go versus Shirakawa and Gokayama.
Days, Shirakawa-go is very crowded.
Very, very crowded.
There's tourist bus taking people there.
Take that into consideration. Those two are going to be, well, actually, Gokayama won't be nearly as crowded as Shirakawa-go. And Takayama, the Hida Takayama, is going to be a lot less.
We'll take a couple more questions before winding this up. If we don't get to your question during the live, then please go over to our KENSHOQUEST channel. We have tons of videos there. Most likely we've answered your question in one of our videos. And if you can't find an answer, you can leave a comment on one of our current videos to ask us there. If you're not already subscribed to KENSHOQUEST, please do go ahead and subscribe. And if you know anybody else who's traveling to Japan, feel free to share our videos with them as well. So another question?
Yeah, just this is an interesting question from Tisha. I've heard that a lot about the Fukubukuro need to be reserved online. Is there somewhere we can check these or have any fun ones that you recommend?
So this is for the New Year's lucky bags. We're planning to get some of these in January. Sometimes you can just get them at department stores, at grocery stores, pretty much anywhere will have a section of these lucky bags. The more like sought after ones are you might have to reserve online, but I don't know much about reserving online. Do you?
Yeah, I would check the major department stores such as Daimaru has them, Takashimaya does as well. Even places like Yodobashi Camera has them, and some of the even like ramen shops have them, and like Skia,
Pretty
just
much everywhere.
pretty much everywhere is having them now. So I would just check their websites ahead of time. I think it's a little too early now. We were just actually talking about this with our kids that we need to prepare for it ourselves. So you're smart that you're thinking about this ahead
Our
of time.
son has been assigned to research
Yeah.
this question. We don't know
Because
the answer yet.
yeah, the most popular ones will sell out. However, there will be many available in stores, throughout Japan from late December to early January as well. And as far as for your kids, yeah, I think they're going to love them too. So they might be interested. They might both be interested in Pokemon. So I would check out the Pokemon site to see if those will be out, or even like Mario and things like. I understand Sanrio might even have some.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Should go a little bit quicker.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. From Jeff, do you have any experience, advice for riding trains to and from unmanned stations?
Good luck. Know where you're going. We've had the issue of unmanned stations with no signage and not knowing which side of the track the train was coming on. But
the most important thing is make sure you have a ticket or that you have money on your IC card or something so that you can tap in and out. Because if there's a gate and you can't get in at an unmanned station, then you're kind of out of luck. Otherwise, worst case scenario is just boarded, just still bored. Make sure you're still bored, and then ask any questions as soon as that you can, like when you get off at a next stop or something like that.
Normally those are more rural, and it's just on a trust basis that you pay for your train trip.
Hi, Maya. We are planning to have a trip in May from the 11th through the 26th. How will the weather be around that time? And will the Golden Week traffic still be there at the beginning of the trip?
So you'll be after Golden Week, which is good. It's probably already going into hot and humid. Sometimes the end of May is already feeling like summertime. There can be really pretty flowers already blooming at that time in May. You might want to watch our video on Tokyo weather, but it changes a bit from each year, but it's probably going to be starting to feel like summer already.
Okay, we're just going to take 2 more questions here. From Arun, for visiting Mount Fuji, is it advisable to make reservations in advance or like a week to 3 days prior so that we have a better idea of the weather? Does the reservations generally get full before that?
So it depends what type of reservation you're asking about. A lot of people do a 1-day bus tour, and for that you might want to wait until you're getting a bit closer so you can check on the weather. But if you want to go there independently by yourself, you can take either a highway bus, or we recommend the Fuji Excursion Limited Express train. For the Fuji Excursion, you need to make your reservation about a month in advance because it does fill up. There's a lot of different highway buses, so I'm guessing there'll be more options available, but still I would make those a bit in advance. I guess the only one I would kind of leave till closer if you're waiting to know about the weather is if you're doing like a 1-day bus tour, because there's so many of those.
Okay, and this is going to be our last question from Janine. Does it rain much in November?
That's a drier time of the year, luckily. So you're past like August, September typhoon. November is one of the drier times of the year. And then winter in general tends to be dry. But I mean, it rains all throughout the year in Japan, but relatively drier. Yes.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today.
So sorry that we weren't able to get to everybody's questions. Like I said, you can go ahead and leave your question on another video. This live will be recorded and on our channel, but the whole chat box thing takes a while to process.
All right. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Have
joining
a
us
good
today.
time in Japan.
Bye.